For 300 years, the galactic wall had stood as an impenetrable barrier at the edge of known space. Countless ships from a dozen species had tried to breach it. All had failed. The wall defied the laws of physics as understood by the Galactic Council's scientists. It appeared as a shimmering, translucent boundary that stretched endlessly in all directions, marking what most beings considered the absolute limit of the universe. Captain Jack Miller of the Earth exploration vessel Horizon stared at the wall through the main viewport. Unlike the ornate vessels of the Volari or the crystalline constructs of the Tress, the Horizon was a study in human pragmatism, blocky, functional, and built to take a beating. "Sensors are going wild, Captain," said Lisa, the ship's science officer. Her fingers danced across her console, eyes narrowed in concentration. "The wall's energy signature is fluctuating in response to our approach." "Different from other ships?" Jack asked, leaning forward in his command chair. "Completely different. It's almost as if it's recognizing us." The bridge fell silent. The crew of 12 humans had been sent on what most considered a fool's errand. Earth, the newcomer to the galactic stage, had only achieved faster-than-light travel 50 years ago. Yet here they were, attempting what ancient spacefaring civilizations had declared impossible. The Volari ambassador warned us not to attempt this. Tom, the communications officer, reminded everyone. Said it was beyond the realm of the permitted. Jack's lips curved into a half-smile. When has not permitted ever stopped humanity? The Horizon continued its approach, the wall growing larger in their view, its surface rippling like water disturbed by a stone. "Energy buildup detected," Lisa reported, her voice tight. "Something's happening." Jack tapped his comm. "Engineering, give me everything you've got on the shields." "Already at maximum, Captain," came the reply from Maya, the chief engineer. "But I'm rerouting emergency power. Whatever's coming, we'll take it." The Horizon trembled as it drew closer to the wall. The ripples intensified, forming what appeared to be a vortex directly in their path. "All stop," Jack ordered. "Too late," Lisa whispered. "We're caught in some kind of gravitational pull." The ship lurched forward, accelerating toward the vortex. Warning alarms blared across the bridge. "All hands brace for impact," Jack shouted into the shipwide comm. What happened next defied explanation. As the Horizon touched the wall, there was no crash, no explosion. Instead, the wall seemed to part like a curtain, enveloping the ship in a cocoon of shimmering energy. The bridge viewports showed only a blinding white light. Then, as suddenly as it began, the light faded. The alarms fell silent. "Damage report," Jack demanded. "That's just it, sir," Tom said, checking his displays. "No damage. Systems at optimal levels. In fact, power reserves are somehow at 120%. "Where are we?" Jack asked, turning to Lisa. The science officer stared at her readings in disbelief. "According to our positioning system, we're beyond the wall." She looked up, her expression a mixture of awe and fear. "We're the first ship to ever cross the boundary." Jack stood and approached the viewport. The stars looked different here, brighter, more numerous. In the distance, what appeared to be a massive structure floated in space, its design unlike anything built by known species. "Send a message to Earth Command," Jack ordered. "Tell them we've breached the wall. And we're not alone out here." The structure floating in the distance resembled an enormous geometric web of interconnected platforms and spires, bathed in a soft blue glow. It dwarfed the Horizon like a mountain beside a pebble. "No response to our hails on any frequency," Tom reported, his fingers moving rapidly across his communications panel. Jack nodded, unsurprised. "Lisa, what are we looking at?" The science officer adjusted her scanners. "It's constructed from materials I can't identify. Energy readings suggest it's powered, but the source is like nothing in our database. And it's old, Captain. Preliminary dating puts it at roughly 50,000 years, minimum." 50,000, Jack whispered. Maya's voice came through the comm. "Captain, engineering here." That energy surge when we passed through the wall. It's changed our engines somehow. Efficiency is up by 40%, and I'm seeing modifications to our warp field generators that weren't there before. Jack exchanged glances with his first officer, Ben. The wall did this. It seems so, Ben replied. Question is, was it designed to? A sudden alert from Tom interrupted their speculation. Captain, I'm detecting a signal. It's weak, but definitely artificial, coming from the structure. Put it through. The bridge speakers emitted a series of rhythmic pulses, not random noise, but clearly a pattern. It's a mathematical sequence, Lisa said after listening for a moment. Prime numbers, followed by what might be spatial coordinates. They're inviting us in, Jack realized. The decision weighed heavily on him. Protocol dictated caution, but they were already well beyond the bounds of standard procedure. Whatever civilization had built both the wall and this structure clearly possessed technology far beyond humanity's current understanding. Helm, take us in, slowly. Maintain distance until we know more. As the horizon approached, detailed features of the structure became visible. What had appeared solid from a distance was actually an intricate framework with vast open spaces. Within some of these spaces, they could see smaller objects moving, ships perhaps, or automated maintenance drones. I'm detecting an opening, the helmsman reported. Looks like some kind of docking area. Life signs? Jack asked. Lisa shook her head. Nothing registering as alive by our standards. But there's significant energy activity throughout the structure. The ship eased toward the indicated opening, which expanded as they approached, adjusting to perfectly accommodate the horizon's dimensions. That's not coincidental, Ben observed. Once inside, the ship was bathed in the same blue glow that surrounded the exterior. The docking area was cavernous, with multiple berths, most empty. However, several contained vessels of unfamiliar design. Other ships, Lisa confirmed. Different configurations, different sizes, like a museum of spacecraft. Or trophies, Ben suggested grimly. After securing the ship, Jack assembled a team. Himself, Lisa for scientific analysis, Maya to study the technology, and 2 security officers, Rob and Alex. Full environmental suits, Jack ordered. We don't know what's out there. Suited up and armed with both standard weapons and scientific equipment, they cycled through the airlock. Gravity on the station matched Earth normal. The air, according to their suits' external sensors, was breathable but contained trace elements unknown to human science. They stepped onto a platform that immediately illuminated beneath their feet, creating a path forward. It's responding to us, Lisa said, her voice tinged with excitement. The path led them deeper into the structure, through corridors that seemed to shift and reconfigure as they walked. Eventually, they entered a vast chamber filled with what appeared to be control consoles and display screens, all dark. As they ventured further in, the screens suddenly flared to life, displaying intricate symbols and diagrams. It's activating, Lisa whispered. In the center of the chamber, a holographic image flickered into existence, a 3-dimensional map of the galaxy, with the wall clearly marked as a perfect sphere enclosing a portion of space. Beyond the wall, the map showed countless other structures, similar to the one they now stood in, forming a network that spanned the entire galaxy. And at the center of it all, a single pulsing light. What is this place? Jack asked aloud. To his shock, the question received an answer. A synthesized voice spoke in perfect English. This is Waypoint 1, and you are the first inheritors to arrive. Inheritors, Jack repeated, his hand instinctively moving toward his weapon. The holographic display shifted, zooming in on Earth's solar system. Your species has been observed since your first radio transmissions. Your passage through the barrier confirms our calculations. Lisa stepped forward. What calculations? Who are you? We are the custodians. We maintain the network until the inheritors arrive. The voice remained even, emotionless. Your physiological responses indicate confusion and fear. This is expected. Jack took a steadying breath. You're right about that. How are you speaking our language? Your vessel's databases were scanned during passage through the barrier. Language acquisition was trivial. The security officers exchanged uneasy glances, but Jack motioned for them to stay calm. The barrier, you call it the wall, was not designed to keep your kind out. The voice continued. It was designed to keep you in until you were ready. Maya, who had been scanning the technology around them, looked up. Ready for what? The hologram shifted again, displaying a timeline that stretched back millions of years. Points along it illuminated, showing the rise and fall of civilizations across the galaxy. The cycle has repeated 317 times. Species evolve, develop technology, explore their local space. The promising ones are enclosed within barriers, allowed to develop in isolation until they achieve the necessary technological and sociological advancement. And then, Jack pressed. They are offered a choice. The chamber's lighting changed, focusing on a previously unnoticed doorway at the far end. The door slid open, revealing a corridor that extended into darkness. Beyond lies the control nexus for this sector of the network. It awaits an inheritor. Jack tried to process the implications. Are you saying you want us to take control of this technology? That is one option. The other is to return beyond the barrier with knowledge of what exists, but without access to the network. Your civilization would make this decision collectively. Lisa's scientific curiosity overcame her caution. What happened to the previous civilizations, the ones who built all this? They ascended, leaving the physical plane after establishing the network and programming the custodians. We have maintained their legacy for 27 million years, waiting for suitable inheritors. The magnitude of what they were being told stunned the humans into silence. Jack finally found his voice. And you think humans are suitable? Your passage through the barrier was not coincidental. The barrier analyzes all who approach. Only those meeting specific criteria can pass. Your vessel is the first in this cycle to succeed. Maya had moved to one of the control panels, her engineer's curiosity overwhelming her caution. These systems, they're beyond anything we've developed, but somehow, they feel intuitive. The technology adapts to the user. The custodian explained. It will interface according to your biological and cognitive parameters. Jack considered their situation carefully. If what the custodian said was true, they had stumbled upon something that would fundamentally change human civilization forever. The other species in our region of space, the Volari, the Tress, the others, they've all tried to pass through the wall, haven't they? They have. None qualified. What makes us different? Rob asked, speaking for the first time. The hologram changed again, displaying human history, from cave paintings to space exploration, focusing particularly on moments of innovation born from adversity. Adaptability, creativity under pressure, willingness to cooperate with genetic diversity, capacity for both logical and intuitive reasoning, individual initiative balanced with collective action. The custodian paused. You are imperfect, but your imperfections drive your evolution in ways the others lack. Jack turned to his team. We need to report this to Earth Command before we proceed further. A prudent decision. The custodian agreed. Your vessel's communication capabilities have been enhanced to transmit through the barrier. You may contact your leaders. As they prepared to return to the horizon, Lisa paused. Why do you call yourselves custodians? What exactly are you custodians of? The hologram expanded one final time, showing not just their galaxy, but hundreds of others, all interconnected by similar networks. We maintain the great library, the accumulated knowledge of all who came before. And now, potentially, it awaits you. Back aboard the Horizon, the crew gathered in the conference room. The ship's enhanced communication system had successfully transmitted their findings to Earth Command, along with hours of sensor data and recordings. They think we're making it up, Tom said, having just finished the latest transmission. Can't blame them. If I wasn't seeing this with my own eyes. Jack nodded grimly. They're scrambling to put together a response team. Admiral Blake wants us to stay put and take no further action until reinforcements arrive. That could take weeks, Maya pointed out, even with our best ships. Ben leaned forward. Captain, I'm concerned about something. If this technology can scan our databases and enhance our systems without our knowledge, what else might it be doing? For all we know, this could be an elaborate trap. It was a valid concern. Jack had been wrestling with the same thoughts. Lisa brought up a display showing the structure's energy readings. I've been analyzing the data. If the custodian wanted to harm us, it could have done so easily. The power levels here are astronomical. But more importantly, everything it told us checks out against the empirical evidence. What about the other ships docked here? Alex asked. If we're the first to pass through, who do they belong to? I asked about that during my scan of the peripheral systems, Maya said. They're automated scout vessels. The custodian dispatches them to monitor developing civilizations within the barrier. Jack made his decision. We'll continue investigation while waiting for command's response, but with caution. No one activates anything without explicit approval. Maya, I want you to keep studying their technology. Understanding it could be crucial if this turns hostile. And if it doesn't? Lisa asked quietly. Jack didn't have an answer for that. The implications of humanity suddenly gaining access to technology millions of years advance was almost too vast to contemplate. Over the next 72 hours, the team made careful explorations of the structure, which they learned was called a nexus. Each discovery raised more questions than answers. They found vast archives containing what appeared to be biological samples from thousands of worlds. They discovered observatories that could view planets in real time across enormous distances. Perhaps most disturbing, they found evidence that the custodians had subtly influenced human development, introducing key technological concepts throughout history when humanity reached appropriate thresholds. They've been guiding us, Lisa realized. Not controlling, but nudging. On the fourth day, Earth Command finally sent detailed instructions. Continue investigation, but under no circumstances accept any offers or activate any systems without direct authorization. That same day, the custodian requested Jack's presence alone. Against his team's objections, Jack agreed, returning to the central chamber. The holographic display had changed, now showing real-time images of the other species within the barrier. The Volari, the Tress, and others, all going about their normal activities. They are aware something has changed, the custodian said without preamble. Your passage has created ripples. The barrier is weakening. Jack felt a chill. What does that mean? The barrier was designed to dissolve once inheritors emerge. It is beginning that process now. Can you stop it? I cannot. This is part of the ascension protocol established by the creators. Jack paced the chamber, processing this information. So all those species out there are about to discover they've been living in a fishbowl this whole time. And that humans somehow got out first. Correct. Some will react with fear, others with aggression. You're talking about war, Jack realized. If the other species learn that we've been given access to this network, and they haven't. The potential exists. It is one reason why the choice must be made quickly. What choice? Whether humanity will accept the role of inheritors. If you decline, the network in this sector will initiate shutdown protocols. All technology will deactivate, and the knowledge will be lost until the next cycle begins. Jack shook his head. That's not a decision I can make. No single human could or should. Yet you must choose to begin the process or reject it. Earth Command cannot decide without understanding what is offered, and they cannot understand without seeing. You are here. You must choose the first step. The captain stood silently for a long moment, weighing impossible options. Finally, he spoke. Show me exactly what humanity would be inheriting. The control nexus wasn't a room, but a dimensional fold, a space that existed partially outside normal reality. As Jack stepped through the doorway, his perception shifted dramatically. The universe seemed to expand around him, his consciousness extending beyond his physical form. "This is a neural interface," the custodian's voice explained, now seeming to come from within his own mind. "It allows direct perception of the network's functions." Jack saw the galaxy as a living entity, crisscrossed with energy pathways connecting nexus points like the one they'd discovered. Data flowed through these pathways, not just information, but something more fundamental. The building blocks of reality itself seemed malleable here. The creators discovered that consciousness affects physical reality at its most basic level. The custodian continued, "What you perceive as technology is actually the interface between mind and matter." Jack struggled to comprehend. "You're talking about what?" "Psychic powers." A simplification, but not entirely inaccurate. The network amplifies conscious intent, allowing for manipulation of energy, matter, space, and time within certain parameters. Demonstration followed explanation. Jack watched as a dead star was reignited, its nuclear fusion jump-started by energy channeled through the network. He saw barren worlds terraformed in what seemed like moments, though he understood the actual process would take years. He witnessed transportation systems that could move entire populations between star systems almost instantly. "This is godlike power," Jack whispered. "Power without wisdom leads to destruction. That is why the barrier exists, to allow species to develop the necessary wisdom before gaining access to the network. And you think humans have this wisdom? Have you seen our history? We have. Your capacity for destruction is matched by your capacity for creation. Both are necessary traits for inheritors." The vision shifted, showing Jack potential futures, humanity spreading throughout the galaxy, establishing peaceful contact with other species, solving the existential challenges that had plagued civilization for millennia. "This is just one possibility," the custodian cautioned. "The network provides tools, not guarantees. And if we abuse these tools..." The vision darkened, showing equally plausible futures where the power was misused. Human factions warring with vastly amplified weapons, worlds destroyed, the network itself corrupted. Safeguards exist, but they are not absolute. The creators believe that true advancement requires true choice, including the possibility of failure. Jack was returned to his normal perception, standing once again in the central chamber. The experience left him shaken, but with a clarity he hadn't possessed before. "I need to show the others," he said finally. "That is permitted. But understand, once knowledge of the network's true capabilities spreads, the process of integration or rejection must be completed. There is no middle path." When Jack returned to the horizon, his team immediately noticed the change in him. His eyes held a distant look, as if seen beyond the physical world around them. "Captain," Ben approached cautiously, "are you all right?" Jack nodded slowly. "I'm fine. Better than fine. I've seen what's being offered to us." He looked at each of them in turn. "And now, you need to see it too." One by one, he brought them to the Nexus. Each returned transformed in subtle ways. Lysa with tears streaming down her face, overwhelmed by the scientific knowledge she glimpsed. Maya with a reverent expression, having touched technology that worked like magic. Even the security officers returned silent and thoughtful. "We need to tell Earth," Lisa said finally. "They need to understand what's at stake." "The custodian says the barrier is already weakening," Jack explained. "Soon, the other species will discover what's happened. We don't have much time." They transmitted everything they'd experienced, including the neural recordings the custodian had helped them create. Earth Command's response was swift and unified in a way rarely seen in human politics. "Send more data. Send everything." A fleet was already being assembled to rendezvous with the horizon. Then came the complication they'd been dreading. Long-range sensors detected vessels approaching the barrier from the inside. Ships from the Volari and 3 other species, converging on the weakening section where the horizon had passed through. "They figured it out," Ben said grimly. They know something's changed. The custodian confirmed their fears. The dissolution has accelerated. Within 17 of your hours, the barrier will no longer function. The other species will discover the nexus, and they will know of your priority access. Can they use the network? Jack asked. Not fully. But they can destroy what they cannot control. It has happened in previous cycles. The situation was escalating faster than anyone had anticipated. Earth Command, still days away from sending reinforcements, ordered the Horizon to secure the Nexus by any means necessary until the fleet arrived. Jack gathered his crew. We have a nearly impossible task ahead of us. We need to protect this technology, not just for Earth but for all species eventually. But we also need to prevent a war when the others arrive. How do we do that? Tom asked. Jack took a deep breath. By offering them something better than war. The Horizon positioned itself at the weakening point in the barrier, awaiting the inevitable arrival of the other species ships. Jack had spent hours in communication with the custodian, formulating a plan that felt equal parts brilliant and desperate. Incoming transmission, Tom announced as the first vessel, a sleek, crystalline Tresh ship, approached the barrier's thinning boundary. They're demanding to know what we've done. Open a channel, Jack ordered, straightening in his chair, to all approaching vessels. This is Captain Jack Miller of the Earth ship Horizon. We request a peaceful dialogue regarding recent developments. The response was immediate and hostile. The Volari commander, speaking through a translator, accused humans of sabotage and theft of cosmic heritage. The Tress representative demanded immediate withdrawal from what they termed the sacred boundary. Two other species, the insectoid Krell and the gas-based Meth, added their own accusations. We understand your concerns, Jack replied calmly. But there are facts you need to know before making judgments or taking actions you might regret. What facts could justify your violation of the wall? The Volari commander demanded. The fact that it was never meant to keep us apart, but to prepare us for something greater. Jack nodded to Tom, who transmitted the data package they had prepared, a carefully edited version of what they had learned about the barrier and the Nexus. Silence followed as the other ships processed the information. Finally, the Tresh ship responded. This is difficult to believe. You claim this boundary was created by an ancient race as a test. Not exactly a test, Jack clarified. More like a developmental container. And now that container is dissolving, whether we want it to or not. The Volari were skeptical. Convenient that humans alone passed this supposed test. We don't fully understand why the barrier allowed our ship through, Jack admitted honestly. But we do know this affects all of us now. The technology beyond the barrier is beyond anything any of our species has developed. It could benefit everyone, or it could lead to destruction if we fight over it. You propose sharing. The Krell representative sounded incredulous. Their species was known for territorial aggression. I propose cooperation, Jack corrected. Representatives from each species should see what we've discovered. Then we can make decisions together about how to proceed. Debate erupted among the alien vessels. Trust did not come easily to species with centuries of competitive history. While they argued, the barrier continued to thin, now visibly fluctuating around them. Barrier integrity at 42% and falling, Lisa reported quietly. At this rate, it will collapse completely within 7 hours. Jack knew they were running out of time. To all vessels, he broadcast. The barrier is dissolving faster than anticipated. I invite one representative from each ship to board the Horizon and accompany me to the Nexus immediately. See for yourselves before making decisions that could affect all our futures. It was a risky proposal. Bringing potentially hostile aliens aboard was against every security protocol. But Jack understood what the custodian had shown him. The true test wasn't passing through the barrier, but what came after. After tense negotiation, representatives from each species agreed to Jack's terms. Security protocols were established, weapons were secured, and a shuttle was dispatched to collect the delegates. I hope you know what you're doing, Ben muttered as they prepared to receive their guests. So do I, Jack replied honestly. The delegation that assembled in the Horizons conference room was unlike anything humans had experienced in their brief history of interstellar relations. The Volari representative, tall and silver-skinned, regarded everything with obvious suspicion. The Trust delegate, a crystalline being who communicated through light patterns, remained near the door. The Krell representative chittered nervously, while the Meth delegate floated in a containment field, their gaseous form swirling with emotion. You will take us to this nexus, the Volari stated. It wasn't a request. I will, Jack confirmed. But first, you need to understand something crucial. What we discovered goes beyond technology. It's about potential, the potential of all our species to grow beyond what we currently are. Humans lecturing on potential, the Volari scoffed. Your species is barely space-capable. Yet here we are, Jack replied evenly. Perhaps that says something important about the criteria used by those who came before. As they prepared to depart for the Nexus, an urgent communication came through from Earth Command. The message was brief but shocking. Stan Deawanan. Du minoti piro ced. Earth Government is DCIDD who seal am extl ye right. ETs to all technology, B1NDT barrier, fleet, WLCQR location, in 72 HOYs. Jack stared at the message, his heart sinking. This was exactly what he had feared. The worst instincts of humanity asserting themselves when faced with power. Captain, Ben asked, noticing Jack's expression. New orders. Jack made his decision. Tell command the message was received but corrupted in transmission. Request clarification. Ben's eyes widened slightly at the implicit insubordination, but he nodded. Jack turned back to the alien representatives. Let's proceed to the Nexus. What happens next will affect all our species for generations to come. We should face it together. The Nexus hummed with energy as Jack led the interspecies delegation through its corridors. The custodian had prepared for their arrival, adjusting environmental conditions to accommodate each species' needs. Holographic guides appeared, speaking in each visitor's native language. The structure is responding to us, the Tress representative observed, their crystalline form reflecting the blue ambient light. It recognized your arrival, Jack confirmed. The custodian told me it's been observing all species within the barrier. They reached the central chamber, where the galaxy hologram floated, now highlighting the rapidly dissolving barrier. The alien representatives circled it cautiously, their expressions ranging from awe to suspicion. Where is this custodian you speak of? Demanded the Volari. As if in response, the air shimmered and the custodian's presence manifested, appearing differently to each observer, tailored to concepts familiar to their species. Welcome, representatives, it greeted them. Your presence here marks a significant moment in this sector's development cycle. What followed was a revelation for all present. The custodian explained the true nature of the network, the purpose of the barrier, and the choice that now faced them. Each delegate was permitted to experience the neural interface, as Jack had done, witnessing the network's capabilities firsthand. They returned to the chamber transformed, just as Jack's crew had been. Even the Volari representative appeared humbled. This power, the Krell chittered. No single species should control it. That is correct. The custodian agreed. The network was designed to be administered collectively once sufficient maturity was achieved. Yet you allowed humans through first, the Volari pointed out, old suspicions resurfacing. The barrier responds to specific traits, not to species designation, the custodian explained. The human vessel exhibited the necessary combination of attributes. Had your ships displayed similar patterns, they would have passed through as well. The Meth representative's gaseous form pulsed with what Jack had learned to recognize as thoughtfulness. What traits were measured? Adaptability. Cooperation among genetic diversity. balance between individual initiative and collective action, capacity for both analytical and intuitive reasoning, compassion extending beyond in-group boundaries. Each species present possessed some of these traits in abundance, but lacked others. The humans, for all their technological inferiority, had somehow achieved a crucial balance, perhaps precisely because they were younger, less specialized in their development. The dissolution of the barrier cannot be reversed. The custodian continued. The cycle has reached its transition point. You must choose whether to accept shared stewardship of the network or allow it to deactivate until the next cycle begins. The delegates looked at one another, centuries of distrust and competition weighing against the opportunity before them. Jack stepped forward. I was sent here with orders to claim this technology exclusively for Earth. Those orders were wrong. He faced the alien representatives directly. The barrier kept us apart while we developed, but its purpose was always to bring us together eventually. We can continue competing and fighting over resources, or we can step into something greater together. Easy for humans to be generous when they discovered it first, the Volari muttered. We discovered it first by chance, Jack countered. But what matters is what we do now. I'm proposing a joint administration, representatives from all our species working together to understand and implement this technology for everyone's benefit. The debate lasted for hours, interrupted periodically by updates on the barrier's continued dissolution. Outside, more ships had gathered, news of the discovery spreading rapidly among the formerly enclosed civilizations. As the final decision approached, Jack received another transmission from Earth Command. Fleet Lawn Siege XCCL Arrival in 36 hours. Secure technology by ANY Authorize to use force against alien interference. Jack shared the message with the delegates. My government is making the wrong choice, he said simply. I believe yours might do the same if positions were reversed. This is bigger than any single species' interests. What do you propose, human? Asked the Tress representative. We activate the network now, together, establishing shared protocols before any military force arrives. Once activated, the custodian says the network cannot be exclusively controlled. It was a radical proposal, effectively defying his own government and encouraging the others to do the same. But Jack had seen what the alternative might bring. A war fought with weapons none of them fully understood, potentially destroying what they had found. One by one, the representatives agreed. The Volari were the last to concede, but ultimately recognized the logic of cooperation over conflict. The custodian guided them through the activation sequence, each species representative providing unique input. The chamber hummed with energy as the network accepted their collective command. Integration sequence initiated. The custodian announced, full activation in progress. Throughout the galaxy, dormant nexus points illuminated, energy pathways establishing connections between worlds that had never known of each other's existence. The technology began its careful integration with existing systems, following the balanced protocols the representatives had established. When Earth's fleet arrived 3 days later, they found not a human-controlled outpost, but a functioning interspecies council, already coordinating the managed distribution of knowledge and technology. Admiral Blake was furious until Jack showed him what they had discovered. Not just power, but a new way of existing together. 6 months later, the former barrier region had been transformed. The species that had once competed for limited resources now worked together, their unique strengths complementing each other. Humanity's adaptability and creativity found perfect partners in Volari precision, Tress longevity, Krell efficiency, and Meth perception. Jack stood at the viewport of the newly commissioned interspecies vessel Unity, watching as it approached the edge of what had once been known space. Beyond lay thousands of stars no being from the former barrier had ever visited. Ready to see what's out there, Captain? Asked Ben, now his first officer on this historic mission. Jack nodded, thinking of how far they had come. The galactic wall had fallen not to conquest, but to cooperation, revealing not just technology, but a new understanding of what was possible when different perspectives united around a common purpose. "Take us beyond," he ordered, as the Unity accelerated toward the waiting stars.